3 bone-chilling true night drive horror stories that haunt you forever. The night air sat thick and heavy as Jasper drove down the desolate highway, his headlights slicing through darkness like a knife through fog. He heard the chilling tales, the stories that wove terror into the fabric of night drives, but nothing could prepare him for the depths of nightmare that awaited. Hidden in the shadows, where whispers of fear danced with the flickering glow of his dashboard, lurked the reality of ghosts and horrors that would haunt him forever. As he glanced in the rearview mirror, something stirred in the gloom behind him. A figure, a woman in white, seemed to glide along the side of the highway. Her face, pale and twisted, framed by wild hair that swayed like tortured tree branches in a storm. Was she lost? Or had she come from a realm beyond his understanding? Jasper's heart raced like a bat caught in a tin can, his palms clenching the wheel until his knuckles turned an anguished white. The road stretched endlessly, swallowed by its own eerie silence, but he couldn't let her out of his sight, could he? In a sudden spike of fear, he slammed on the brakes, sending his car skidding to a stop. The night air buzzed, charged with an energy that felt unsettlingly alive. With trembling hands, he opened the door, the cold air rushing in like the icy fingers of death. But just as he took his first step, a deafening crack echoed through the dark, a branch snapping behind him, followed by an unnatural howl that seeped into his bones. The hair on his arms prickled as he turned, dread pooling in his stomach. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Heart pounding, he swung back around to see the woman again, her presence more pronounced now, lingering like smoke in the night. But she was gone. No trace left behind. His mind raced with questions. Where had she gone? What did she want? He was no longer alone on this road, something or someone else was riding with him. Suddenly, he caught sight of headlights in the distance, blinding and fast approaching. Relief coursed through him momentarily, but it twisted into fear as a black pickup truck veered off-road, barreling toward him with reckless speed. He had to move. A lump seized his throat as he scrambled back into the car, slamming the door shut with a finality that echoed in the stillness, but when he glanced back up, the truck was gone, the road empty. What had he just witnessed? Was it real or a product of his spiraling panic? He whispered to himself, reassuring yet terrified, not knowing the truth was much darker than his mind could ever grasp. The night had secrets, and they wanted him to know. What would happen next on this haunted drive? What other nightmares lay hidden in the shadows? The atmosphere throbbed with tension, anticipation crackling like electricity as Jasper pressed the gas pedal down, his eyes scanning the straining darkness ahead. Something was watching, waiting. He could feel it. Panic washed over Jasper like a cold wave, every instinct urging him to flee. He pressed the gas pedal harder, the engine roaring in defiance of the encroaching terror. The night closed in, swallowing the world around him, every shadow seemingly alive, every rustle of leaves whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. The headlights carved a narrow path, the road ahead warped under the oppressive weight of uncertainty. He glanced into the rearview mirror once more, desperate to reassure himself that he was alone. But then, it struck him, a flicker of movement in the darkness, just beyond the reach of his waning headlights. The woman. There she was again, a ghostly figure now stepping closer, the white of her dress stark against the inky backdrop. Jasper's heart drummed loudly, the beat echoing in his ears with each laughable attempt to rationalize. Maybe she's just a hitchhiker, he muttered to the empty car, forcing himself to breathe, to think. But every hair on his body told him that logic had no place in this spine-chilling encounter. He swerved the wheel instinctively, adrenaline-fueled, heart racing. Then, a sharp gasp escaped his lips when the road ahead vanished, swallowed by swirling fog. The car jolted forward as though the very asphalt had bucked beneath him, and all semblance of safety slipped away. "Stay on the road, stay on the road," he chanted like a mantra, gripping the wheel with sweaty palms. But the fog thickened, turning the world into a claustrophobic cocoon of uncertainty, swirling like the thoughts in his mind. Just when he thought he might break free, the headlights caught a glimmer, a signpost half buried in the brush, the words barely legible. "Old Mill Road," he read aloud, but it didn't sound familiar. What the hell? The streetlights were like lost souls, flickering feebly, illuminating the world around him in an ethereal glow. And then, like a punch to the gut, the overwrought air shifted. The temperature dropped instantly, a frigid breath that sent a shock through his spine. Suddenly, it all spiraled back. This was where the stories began, where her story began. He had read enough accounts of hauntings, enough tales of the woman in white, vengeful spirits trying to communicate a past left unresolved. His hands shook as he recalled the chilling details that she would follow those who had done wrong, searching for closure, vengeance, or simply companionship. "Just drive, Jasper," he yelled at himself, shaking his head violently to dispel the spiraling thoughts. But, of course, it was too late. The darkness was alive now, pulsing with every heartbeat, as the woman reappeared at his side, just outside the window, a tortured wail escaping her lips, a sound that sent him tumbling further into fear. He couldn't tell if she was begging for help or warning him to stay away, but one thing struck him with absolute certainty: this night was not about to let him go. With a sudden, reckless decision, he tore the wheel, veering off the main road down a narrow path cloaked in darkness. The engine roared defiantly, echoing through trees that looked like skeletal hands reaching for him. Somewhere in the distance, he thought he could hear her chant a sorrowful lullaby that would spin his dreams into torment, but what haunted him most was the familiar chill creeping back, whispering promises of despair. What lay ahead? Was there a way out, or was this just the beginning of a nightmare he couldn't escape? Every second passed like an eternity as he pressed on, the looming figure of the woman still following close behind, and the question hung heavy in the air: could he outrun the past? The car rattled and sputtered as Jasper barreled down the overgrown path, dark branches whipping against the windows like a jealous hand. Each twist and turn felt like stepping deeper into an ancient curse. The atmosphere thickened, and the woman's wails clawed at his ears, echoing in a haunting loop that seemed to seep into his very soul. "Please, just leave me alone," he shouted into the night, his voice trembling, but the only reply was the low whisper of the wind slipping through the leaves. Almost laughing at his predicament, the path suddenly opened into a clearing. Jasper's heart raced as he skidded to a stop, the headlights illuminating a crumbling old mill, its silhouette standing crassly against the moonlit sky. It loomed like a monster long forgotten, but it also hinted at something familiar, buried deep in the recesses of his mind. Fear wrestled with curiosity, forging a dangerous alliance within him. Maybe the old mill was part of the answer, maybe it was the secret that could unlock the woman's burden. But should he risk it? The wails grew louder, dragging at his sanity as he wrestled with his instincts. Finally, he resolved to go inside. With every step towards the building, dread coiled tighter in his chest, but also a strange pull of purpose. The door creaked open, the sound like bones breaking underfoot. Jasper shone his flashlight around, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, stuck in a world of their own. Old machinery lay abandoned, a rusted reminder of lives once intertwined with this place. A chill wrapped around him, clinging harder than the fog outside. He took a deep breath, stepping forward into the stillness. "Hello?" he called out, his voice wavering against the silence. The sound echoed back, haunting in its emptiness. No response. Just the unsettling feeling of being observed from the shadows. The woman's cries pierced through the quiet, now a scream of unity with the very walls that surrounded him. Panic ignited in his blood like wildfire. Reacting without thinking, he raced toward the source, his feet pounding against the wooden floor like a drum of desperation. He stumbled upon a staircase, half buried in dust, leading to a dark upper level. As he ascended, each step creaked ominously under his weight, warning him of what lay ahead. At the top, a room opened up, moonlight spilling through bare windows. In that light, he saw her, and his breath hitched painfully in his throat. The woman stood in the center, her face an ethereal mask of sorrow, framed by hair that floated as if underwater. She was an embodiment of pain, haunting, beautiful, and terrifying, her gaze locked onto him like a predator sizing up its prey. "You've come," she whispered, voice trembling as if the very fabric of reality wavered with her words. "Why are you following me?" Jasper said, the words escaping him in a rush, laced with desperation. "Help me," she pleaded, pointing toward a shadowy corner of the room. Find the truth. Chills cascaded down his spine. How could he help this spirit bound to a past heavy with despair? What did she want to reveal? His heart thundered as realization washed over him, drawing him closer. There were stories here, stories steeped in blood and betrayal, waiting to be unearthed. As he moved toward the shadow, something caught his eye, a glint of metal, half buried in the floorboards. He knelt, heart pounding, brushing away dirt and dust. It was a locket. With trembling hands, he opened it, and the world around him shifted. Shadows twisted, and the woman's wail filled the air once more, but it was different now, more desperate, more insistent. "What's inside?" he gasped, staring into space, fear and intrigue battling for dominance as the air grew thick with echoes of the past. But as the answer loomed over him, he knew this was only the beginning. The truth was about to unravel in ways he couldn't imagine. What secret did the locket hold, and how did it tie him to the woman's tragic fate? The locket swung open, an ancient secret collapsing in on itself, releasing a rush of cool air that brushed against Jasper's face. Inside, he found a curled photograph, worn from age, its edges frayed. He squinted at the faded image, two figures, a man and a woman, both smiling, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around them. Jasper's heart skipped a beat. The woman looked strikingly like the specter before him. "What is this?" he whispered, barely able to choke the words out. "Look closer," the woman urged, her voice slicing through the thick tension like a knife. "You must see it all." With a shaking hand, Jasper turned the locket slightly to catch the moonlight streaming through the window. Beneath the surface of the photograph, letters began to form, delicate but insistent. Names. Dates. Then, like tragic poetry playing out before him, two separate dates stood bold, one marked with a birth, a life full of promise, the other, stark and cold, a death that hung over everything like a shroud. Why is this happening?" His voice trembled. She stepped closer, drawing him in with a sorrow that wrapped around his heart. "The truth is buried under layers of pain," she whispered. "You're the only one who can lift them." Before he could respond, shadows spiraled in the corners of the room, darkness gathering like thunderheads above a distant horizon. Jasper's breath hitched, as if something alive was watching him, waiting for him to understand. "But I'm just an ordinary guy," he protested, his voice shaking. "Ordinary?" "No," she narrowed her eyes. "You are a thread in this tapestry. Your presence awakened the story. You must finish it." Thunder roared outside, rattling the old mill, and the air rippled with urgency. Jasper's mind raced. Did he really have the power to alter what had already been written in time? The weight of her gaze bore down on him, and fear began to morph into determination. "What do you need me to do?" "Confront what was lost," she replied, her eyes glistening with unspilled tears. "Find the man in the photo. He is the key. He must answer for what he took." A gust of cold wind swept through the room, flickering the flashlight beam wildly, and Jasper shivered at the depth of her words. The locket felt heavy in his palm, burdened by a history he couldn't begin to grasp. Suddenly, the screech of wood echoed from below, intruding on the fragile moment between them. It was followed by a low thump, then another. Jasper's pulse raced as dread wormed its way deeper into his veins. Something else was here, something alive in the dark. "Listen," she warned, her voice trembling. "You must hurry. The truth is in danger." He stood frozen, staring at her. Was he ready to confront whatever had unfolded in this place long before his time? The shadows seemed to swirl even closer, whispering secrets of despair and urging him to flee, but the compassion in her eyes anchored him. "Okay," he breathed, words coming out steady now. "I'll find him. I'll uncover the truth." Just then, another loud crash echoed from the lower level of the mill, and a dark figure darted past the entrance. Jasper's heart raced with panic as the woman's wail turned sharp, a warning mixed with fear. "Go!" she shouted, hands outstretched toward him. "You need to leave before it finds us." Jasper's instincts kicked in. He turned, sprinting down the dust-laden stairs as the shadows chased at his heels, alive with malice. His mind reeled. How could he chase the truth and escape the darkness at the same time? His breath came in ragged bursts as he burst through the front door, skidding to a halt outside. The wind whipped around him, howling out of the trees like the cries of the woman haunting him. But in that moment, clarity sparked within him like wildfire. He had to find the man from the locket. In the depths of the forest, there were answers hidden beneath layers of darkness. But what would he actually uncover? As he turned toward the woods, the cries of the woman echoed behind him, fading into despair. Would he find redemption or damnation? Would he even survive the pursuit of a terrifying truth? With every step into the ominous forest, the shadows drew closer around him. The trees loomed overhead, gnarled branches twisting like skeletal fingers reaching for him. Jasper's heart hammered in his chest, loud enough he feared something within the forest might hear it and come for him. Each step felt like a resolution, a commitment to face whatever horrors lay ahead, but the chill biting at his skin whispered doubts. What if he was wrong? What if he couldn't handle the truth? As he moved deeper into the woods, the darkness felt alive, writhing, breathing. Shadows danced between the trees, and the wind carried rustling whispers that tugged at his sanity. Closing his eyes momentarily, he tried to envision the photograph. The faces, illuminated by fleeting moonlight, carved into his memory. The man. He had to find the man. But where could he even begin? Every direction looked the same, every shadow threateningly vague. Suddenly, a snap echoed nearby. Jasper froze, heart leaping to his throat like a scared rabbit. His instincts screamed for him to run, but a curious resolve gripped him instead. "Show yourself," he called, voice shaky but defiant, branches scratching at his skin as he turned toward the sound. There was movement, a flicker of pale white among the dark, something non-human slinking away from him. Before he could process it, a flashlight beam pierced through the empty air, illuminating the space just ahead. Jasper moved toward it, his heart lodged in his throat. The beam flickered, revealing a clearing, and it felt like a portal to another world. In the center of the clearing, a makeshift altar stood, strange symbols carved into stones, pulsating with an energy that felt both foreign and familiar. Something was wrong, absolutely wrong. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as he took in the sight. This was no ordinary sight, it was tethered to the mysteries he sought to unravel. A gust of wind pushed through the trees, making the branches shiver, as if in warning. Just then, he felt a presence behind him. Jasper spun, heart racing, but it was only the woman from his vision standing there, her eyes wide with urgency. "Jasper!" she gasped, taking a step toward him. "You shouldn't have come here." "Why? What is this place?" he asked, each breath coming like a battering ram against his ribcage. "It's a place of power," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But it's twisted. It has been tainted by loss. You need to turn back, it's not safe here." "No. I can't turn back. I have to find the man from the photo. He holds the key." The desperation in his voice pierced the night, a challenge against fate itself. She looked pained, eyes filling with emotion. "You are gambling with your life, Jasper. You have no idea what you're up against. I have to know." He shouted, conviction fueling him. "I have to confront this. I must find him." Suddenly, the trees creaked and groaned, a dreadful sound signaling a shift. The shadows began to writhe violently, more alive than before. The atmosphere felt charged, crackling with energy. Jasper could sense something grave was about to happen. From the depths of the forest, a low growl emerged, vibrating through the air. The sound cut through him, pure terror coursing down his spine, and from the underbrush, a figure emerged tall and menacing, cloaked in shadow. The man's features blurred, a spectral presence that sent panic clouds through his head. Jasper, the figure rasped, voice distant yet familiar. The realization crashed over him, it was the man from the photograph. But who was he really? Jasper took a shaky step forward, driven by equal parts terror and curiosity. You're him. You have to answer for what you took. The shadows erupted around them, closing in as the man's face twisted into a horrific smile. You seek the truth, don't you? But can you handle it? Jasper's heart dropped. The clearing felt like a trap now, darkness swallowing him whole. He barely had time to take a breath before an unseen force yanked him backward, pulling him away from the figure. Run! The woman screamed, panic lining her voice as she reached out for him, but where could he run? The truth was here, at the very threshold of his grasp, and yet the darkness demanded a price. As the shadows rushed in, devouring the night, Jasper felt his resolve begin to falter. What awaited him in the depths of this nightmarish encounter? Would he find answers or become yet another lost soul entwined in this cursed history? With deafening silence, the forest echoed, leaving only a whisper of his name. Jasper's mind raced like wildfire, adrenaline igniting every nerve in his body. The shadows elongated, twisting into grotesque forms, flickering like candle flames in a purposefully dim room. He stumbled back, eyes locked onto the man who had appeared in every nightmare, every fleeting vision. This was the moment of confrontation, but the air thickened with a suffocating dread. Jasper! Move! The woman's urgent voice pierced through the haze of fear. She lunged forward, grabbing his arm, her grip like iron. We need to get out of here. He opened his mouth to protest, to say he couldn't leave without answers, but the primal instinct to survive surged through him. With a yank, she pulled him away from the altar, the symbols on the stones flashing with an ominous light as they retreated. The growl resonated again, nearer this time, a guttural vibration that rattled in Jasper's bones. With each step, the darkness seemed to ripple, as if it had a life of its own, hungry for his presence. They raced deeper into the thicket, but the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them, quickening like a looming storm. Why are you helping me? Jasper gasped as they pressed on. The branches whipped at them, clawing at his skin, but he barely felt it. Fear gave him strength. Because you need someone who knows these woods. She spat, breathless, glancing over her shoulder. This isn't just an ordinary forest, it's linked to something far darker. We need to break free before it gets us both. With every hurried step, she darted back into the underbrush, but Jasper could feel him dragging behind, his legs felt like lead. Wait! I have to know who that man is. He called, desperation flooding his voice. Not now. She hollered, urgency laced with fear as they veered left, headed for a narrow path obscured by brambles. Disorientation waved over Jasper like a thick fog, and yet, the urgency held him captive. Another echoing growl reverberated, this time punctuated by a chilling silence that clawed at Jasper's mind. The deeper they ran, the more the woods warped and twisted into a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. His heart pounded like a drum, a steady metronome of terror. Finally, they stumbled upon a small, ramshackle cabin, barely visible among the tangled roots and foliage. There was a flickering light inside. In here. She pulled him inside, gasping as she slammed the door behind them. Silence enveloped them for a brief moment, thick and suffocating. What just happened out there? Jasper asked, his voice quavering. Who is he? The woman leaned against the wall, chest heaving, her features drawn and pale. You don't understand. That man, he doesn't just take, he collects souls. Her voice cracked. He has been waiting for someone like you, Jasper. Someone who can uncover what was lost. What was lost? Jasper demanded, urgency pushing through his fear. What do you mean? She shook her head, a deep sorrow overtaking her expression. You're the one who needs to face him. It's why you came here. But her voice broke, you need to be ready. Or he'll drown your very essence in darkness. Before he could respond, the door rattled violently as if something were trying to force its way in. A sinister laugh reverberated in the air, the sound layered with malice and glee. You think you can hide from the truth? It's time you understand your blood calls for reckoning. Jasper's breath hitched, the weight of bravado slipping away. As the darkness pressed against the door, he felt it again, the call of the photograph, the pull of the man who haunted his very waking hours. If he didn't face this now, he might never have the chance again. Do you understand? Jasper whispered to the woman, panic flooding his chest as realization slipped in. We can't stay here. Yet, the darkness outside tightened its grasp, and he knew they were running out of time. What dangers dared to breach the threshold? Would the depths of their shared horrors claim them both, or was there still a glimmer of hope to grasp? The door splintered, ready to break. The crack echoed like thunder in the small cabin. Jasper's heart raced, pounding against his ribcage like a wild animal seeking escape. The darkness outside pressed harder, the splintered wood of the door moaning in protest. Get back! The woman hissed, shoving him further into the cramped space. The flickering light cast frantic shadows on the cramped walls, each flicker shifting their fears into living nightmares. Her eyes, wide with terror, bore into him as if searching for the courage she so desperately needed. Do you have a plan? He barely managed to whisper, bracing himself against the wall, feeling its coldness seep into his skin. She shook her head, her lips trembling. Not a good one. We can't let him in. If he does, it's over. But inside, something shifted, a thought whispered to Jasper, urging him to take control. What if we fight? His voice hung in the air, a weak flame flickering. What if we face him together? Together, she echoed, her brow furrowing in thought. You don't know what he is capable of. This isn't just a fight. It's a reckoning. Then tell me what to do. Jasper felt a rush of resolve surge through him. If he didn't act now, if he didn't challenge the darkness, he would live in fear forever. As if on cue, the door buckled violently, the splinters flying like shrapnel across the room. A low, mocking laughter slipped through the cracks. Wet and sinister. You think you can change your fate, boy? You will be mine. Grab something. The woman yelled, scanning the room as she rummaged through the disarray. A nail-studded branch lay abandoned in a corner, its presence somehow a beacon of hope. Jasper dove for the makeshift weapon, feeling its rough texture beneath his fingers. The door shuddered again, the hinges stuttering against the pressure outside. We have to stop him. Jasper shouted as he steadied his grip on the branch. He is here to take everything from us. With a soul-chilling crack, the door burst open, a whirlwind of shadows poured in, and the man stood there, a silhouette forged from nightmares, his grinning face twisted in triumph. Finally, I've come for what's mine. Adrenaline coursed through Jasper, he tightened his grip on the branch. No. You won't take me. He shouted, voice echoing with defiance. Foolish boy, the man replied, his voice smooth and dripping with malice. You think you have a choice? The darkness surged around him, tendrils reaching toward Jasper, coiling like snakes eager to ensnare him. He could hear its whispers now, promising power, eternal life, but at what cost? An image of his past flickered in his mind, a life filled with laughter and warmth. He could not let this creature snuff that out. With a scream that erupted from the depths of his soul, he charged forward, the branch raised high. The shadows recoiled, hesitating momentarily at his raw fury. Now! The woman cried, courage flickering to life in her eyes. Together, they rushed forward, the line between fear and bravery blurring into a single heartbeat. Jasper swung the branch, feeling its weight connect with the edges of darkness. The man sneered in pain, momentarily shaking back to reveal ghastly eyes, swirling with anger and hollow despair. "Dare you resist me? It'll cost you dearly." His voice thundered, echoing with rage. A pulse of energy surged through Jasper, igniting a flame within him. "I am not yours to take." But as they pushed against the shadows, something deeper and darker stirred within the forest, a presence that consumed everything in its path. Jasper felt it pulling at him, seducing him back into silence. "Jasper!" The woman yelled, her voice reaching through the roar of the encroaching chaos. "Stay with me. We can fight this." He turned, but something flickered behind her, a glimpse of another figure rising from the shadows. As dread gripped his chest, he could hardly breathe. Was that another threat, or a semblance of hope? "Don't look away!" she shouted, desperation coursing through her words as the ground trembled beneath their feet. Jasper's resolve wavered, caught between the gnawing darkness and the flickering light. Uncertainty churned in his gut. It was a critical moment, one that could either doom him or set him free. What awaited them was not just a fight but the unveiling of long-buried truths. Would they conquer the darkness or be consumed by it? The shadows lunged, and he braced for the inevitable. Jasper's heart thudded in his ears, drowning out the cacophony of chaos around him. Shadows lashed out, and he could feel their cold breath at his back. He had only a moment to decide. "We need to get out," he yelled, his voice a desperate roar against the oppressive darkness. But the woman was still frozen, staring wide-eyed at the figure emerging from the shadows. "Look!" she shouted, pointing. Jasper followed her gaze, the flickering light illuminated a familiar face, one he thought he lost forever. It was his younger sister, Annie. Her pale skin glowed against the darkness, eyes wide with fear but filled with a strange strength. "Jasper, help!" she cried, her voice quivering like a fragile bird. "No!" The woman's voice cracked like ice. "She's not real, Jasper. This is a trick." But the sight of Annie grounded him, even amidst the chaos. "Annie?" he whispered. The warmth of memory and love flooded over him. "You're here." But as he moved toward her, the darkness coiled tighter, threatening to strip away the hope she represented. "Jasper, I need you. Please." She reached out, her hand extending toward him, fingertips brushing the edge of the shadows. "Stay back." The woman snapped, but Jasper couldn't resist. A deep instinct within him pulled him forward. The shadowy figure laughed, its voice rich with malice. "So naive, boy. Can't you see the game? You would risk everything for an illusion?" "Stop!" Jasper shouted, clutching the branch as if it were the only thing tethering him to reality. The forces around him racked his mind, but he couldn't let go. He wouldn't let go. "Annie!" he cried, voice thick with emotion. "You're real." He could scarcely believe it, his heart a pendulum between dread and hope. "Jasper!" she begged again, the shadows clawing at her. They pulled back, threatening to swallow her whole. "No!" His resolve surged. "I'm coming for you." He charged, branch raised high, and as he swung, he caught a glimpse of the woman's expression, fear, mixed with something like admiration, flickering in her eyes. With an explosion of energy, the branch connected, sending ripples through the shadows. The mocking laughter turned sharp, nerves vibrating in the air. The darkness momentarily hesitated, retracting from the blow. "Foolish boy," the figure sneered, but now there was uncertainty in its voice. It was no longer just a predator but a cornered beast. "You think you can defy me?" "Yes." Jasper bellowed, feeling a warmth grow in his chest, a brilliant light amidst the black. "I choose my family. The darkness swirled, splintering like shattered glass as he pushed forward. It was now or never. The shadows snarled and unfurled, lunging toward Annie and then toward him. Jasper swung again, scattering pieces of the darkness around him. "Get her out. I'll hold it back," he yelled to the woman. The moment flickered, agony and courage intertwined. She hesitated, but after a heartbeat, she darted toward Annie. In a flash, she grasped her hand, pulling her from the abyss. "Hold on!" Jasper shouted, his own isolation gnawing at him. But he was done running. The memories of laughter and safety intermingled with raw fury, propelling him forward. With one last mighty swing, he unleashed a defiant roar. The branch sliced through shadows, unleashing a flood of light that filled the cabin a blinding brilliance. The darkness shrieked, pulling away like a curtain being torn from its rod. Jasper felt a rush of air, the cold melting away into warmth. The shadows writhed, desperate and panicked, before dissipating into the moonlight. "Annie!" he gasped, triumphant. When the light dimmed, they all stood together alive, but their victory was short-lived. A new voice slithered through the air, soft yet menacing. "You think you've won, but this isn't over." "I'll return." The palpable threat clung to the air, uncertainty weaving through their limbs. As the cabin creaked ominously, Jasper knew the darkness would not rest. With a deep breath, they faced what loomed ahead, but uncertainty settled in his chest. Would they ever truly be free? "Together we can fight," the woman said, her voice steady, yet filled with a poignant undertone. But as they turned to leave the cabin, a chilling echo trailed behind them, growing closer. Something lingered, waiting to tighten its grip once more. Would they be able to face whatever returned, or was this just the beginning of an even darker chapter? Jasper's head spun as they stepped outside the cabin, the cool night air biting at his skin. Annie clutched his arm, her grip like a lifeline. He could hear the pounding of his heart, each beat echoing a mix of adrenaline and fear. The moon hung high, illuminating the path ahead but casting eerie shadows that danced at the edges of the trees. "What was that?" Annie whispered, her voice trembling as she looked back at the cabin. The walls had seemed alive just moments ago, pulsating with darkness. Jasper's stomach twisted. The threat was still there, lurking just out of sight. The woman stood beside them, eyes darting around like a deer caught in headlights. "We have to move. It won't stay down for long," she said, urgency lacing her tone. "Where do we go?" Jasper asked, desperation creeping into his voice. "What if it comes for us?" "We need to find a safe place," the woman replied, casting a glance over her shoulder as if expecting the shadows to burst forth at any moment. Annie's eyes, reflecting the moonlight, locked onto Jasper's. It felt real, didn't it? She was really there, Jasper. Her voice held that same hope he felt, but the nagging doubt loomed over him like a storm cloud. "Whatever we saw in there, it tried to trick us." The woman's voice was a gravelly whisper. "We need to be careful." They quickened their pace, feet crunching on the gravel. The forest surrounded them, dark trees looming like sentinels. Every rustle of leaves sent shivers down Jasper's spine. He could almost hear the whispers of the shadows, plotting their return. Suddenly, a shriek pierced the stillness, a high, bone-chilling sound that froze Jasper in place. Annie gasped, her breath hitching in her throat. The woman grabbed both of them, yanking them deeper into the trees. "It's a trap," she hissed, urgency turning her tone hard. "Keep moving." Jasper's stomach dropped. The shadows were back. He could feel their eyes watching, waiting for the moment to strike again. Annie stumbled, nearly losing her footing. "I can't keep running," she panted, fear etched across her face. "No!" Jasper cried. He turned to the woman. "Help her. Stay close." She barked, panic flashing across her features. She planted herself in front of them, scanning for movement. As they ran, the ground beneath them seemed to shift. A low rumble echoed through the air, deep and menacing. "It's coming!" Jasper shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. In a sudden twist of fate, they found themselves at a clearing. A small, rickety shack stood at the center, barely holding itself up. Its windows were dark and hollow, resembling empty eyes staring at them. "Maybe we can hide there," Annie yelled, hope creeping back into her voice. But as they approached, Jasper felt the air grow colder. Shadows flickered around the shack, pooling at its base like a living entity. "No. It's too risky." The woman shook her head, determination battling her fear. But before anyone could argue, the shadows erupted from the ground, swirling violently like a storm. "Get back!" Jasper shouted, adrenaline pushing him forward again. The shadows writhed, taking form, becoming something almost human. "What are you?" Jasper cried, refusing to back down. The figure smiled a twisted, grotesque grin that sent chills racing down his spine. "I warned you." Its voice slithered through the air like a snake. "You can't escape me. I will always be here." Jasper felt the world tilt beneath him, the ground becoming a swirling void of darkness. "Run!" he yelled, pulling Annie toward the shack. The woman followed closely, but the shadows danced eagerly, intertwining their limbs and blocking their path. Just as they reached the door, it swung open, revealing more darkness inside. The uncanny chill beckoned them. Jasper hesitated, but desperation pushed him forward, shoving Annie inside. The moment they stepped across the threshold, the door slammed shut behind them. The air was thick, pressing down on them like a weight. "This isn't over," the figure growled from outside, its voice mingling with the whispers of the shadows that wrapped around the shack. "You can run, I'll find you always." Jasper's heart raced as he peered through the window, catching a glimpse of the dark figure that now loomed closer, its eyes glinting like shards of glass. A single thought clawed at his mind: what had they just stepped into? The darkness inside the shack pulsed with life, and a part of him knew they were not alone. As it began to close in, Jasper's instincts screamed betrayal lurked in the shadows, and survival would come at an unthinkable price. What awaited them in the heart of the darkness? Jasper's breath hitching in his throat was almost tangible, the air thickened, stifling under the weight of danger and dread. The shadows inside the shack wove around them, pulsating like the very heartbeat of malevolence. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, foul memories laced with despair. "What now?" he whispered, panic creeping into his voice. "What are we going to do?" "Stay close," the woman breathed, her eyes darting as she scanned the impenetrable darkness. Annie pressed closer to him, her fingers gripping his arm with desperate urgency. "What if it comes for us in here?" Her voice trembled, quaking with fear yet filled with an unyielding strength. "It knows we're here," the woman said, her face grim. "But we can use that against it." Uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "We must face this together." In an instant, the darkness stirred, and the low growl reverberated through the shack. "You can't hide from me. You're mine." The voice slithered through the air, each syllable a poison that seeped into Jasper's bones. Jasper's heart raced, fear and bravado warring inside him. "We need to find a way to fight back. There has to be something here." The shack threw shadows, whispers dancing along the wooden walls. With a shaky exhale, Jasper stepped forward. "We can't let it corner us," he declared, forcing his voice to steady. "Let us split up. We have to find weapons or something we can use." "No!" the woman exclaimed, grasping his arm tightly. "We need to stick together. It thrives on fear and division. We must stand united." "Then we'll stay together," Jasper said, and with newfound determination, he nodded at Annie. "We can't let it take us down. Not now. Not after all we've faced." But before they could move, the shack trembled. The figure prowled just beyond their borders. "What are you waiting for? Let your fates unfold." You cannot escape your destiny. The potently sinister voice echoed, a dark promise that sent a shiver through Jasper's spine, exuding a confidence he didn't feel. Jasper called out, "We are not your playthings. We will not be bound to your fate." For a heartbeat, there was silence, as if the very woods held its breath. A soft, mocking laugh rolled through the air. "Foolish mortals. You have no idea what you're up against." Then, shadows burst forth, flaring into sinister shapes, reaching for them with ghostly fingers. "Run!" the woman shouted, instinctively pulling Annie along as Jasper followed closely behind, fear pushing them forward into the abyss of darkness. They fled deeper into the shack, each step a desperate gamble against the unknown. Jasper could feel the shadows closing in, their whispers clawing at his sanity. "Where do we go?" he snapped, heart racing, adrenaline flooding his veins. "Look for a way out," the woman replied, her voice unwavering despite the panic surrounding them. They burst into a dimly lit room scattered with remnants of forgotten lives, old furniture covered in dust like tombs hiding secrets of their own. "Here!" Annie shouted, pointing toward a cracked window, its glass twisted and darkened with age. "If we can break through," with a fierce determination, Jasper hurried over, his hands steady as he lifted a rusty pipe lying on the floor. "Stand back!" he yelled, swinging at the window with all his strength. Crack! Glass shattered, sending pieces flying, and a harsh cold breeze poured in, invigorating yet eerie. "Go! Now!" he shouted, feeling the oppressive weight of the darkness closing in on them. The woman and Annie scrambled through the remnants of glass. He followed swiftly, adrenaline surging as he felt the shadows clawing at his back. But just as they slipped outside, the chilling laughter echoed once more, reverberating off the trees. "You think you've escaped? I'll find you and the truth shall be your undoing." The trio darted into the woods, the moonlight pouring through branches to guide their path, but doubt crept in like a shadow. "How do we stop it?" Jasper panted, glancing over his shoulder, half expecting the dark figure to emerge from the trees. "We need to reach the altar," the woman shouted, urgency reinvigorating her tone. "That's where its power is anchored. If we can destroy it, then we'll end this." Jasper finished, feeling the resolve settle deep within him. They raced through the brush, hearts thundering in tandem as they neared the clearing. The altar stood before them, ominous and foreboding, still covered in dark symbols. Jasper felt an overwhelming urge to protect Annie and the woman beside him. Together, he breathed, clenching the pipe tighter, the cool metal grounding him amidst the swirling chaos. On 3. 1 they huddled closer, determination blurring fear into nothingness. 2 the shadows danced ominously, teasing their gaze, but instead of terror, it ignited a fire within. 3. With synchronized fervor, they charged. The noise of their footsteps drowned in the chaotic wind, the air crackling with electric energy. Jasper swung the pipe, slamming it down against the altar. It resonated through the ground, sending shards of power rippling through the earth. "Keep going," the woman urged. Together, they took turns striking with savage persistence, each blow aiming to break the hold the darkness had on them. The shadows shrieked, pulsating with rage, and Jasper could feel the energy building, the very heart of the darkness beginning to fracture. With each strike, he felt lighter, freed from the weight of fear. Just a few more. With one last cry, they smashed the pipe down again, an explosion of power erupting from the altar, sending waves of light cascading through the clearing. The darkness shrieked, writhing violently as tendrils of shadow pulled away, unraveling like threads snapped from fabric. "No!" the dark figure screamed, its form fraying until it dissipated into wisps, blown away by the night wind. In that moment, it felt as though the entire forest sighed, the shadows retreating beneath the moonlight, vanquished. Jasper fell back, breathless. "Did we do it?" he gasped, looking around in disbelief. The woman nodded, a beautiful brightness in her eyes. Yes, we did." Annie burst into tears of relief, wrapping her arms tight around Jasper, and he could hardly hold back his own gratitude. They had confronted their fears, unearthed painful truths, and emerged victorious, but as they stood in the newfound calm, a breath of air stirred at the edge of the forest, a distant echo lingering in the branches. "This isn't over," whispered the wind, a reminder that darkness never truly vanishes. Jasper, finally unbound, took a moment to breathe deeply. "Together, we can face whatever comes next," he said firmly. The shadows may have retreated, but they had kindled an unbreakable bond, a light fierce enough to conquer the night. As dawn crept in, painting the horizon in hues of hope, they turned back toward the path leading home. They had survived the night and whatever lay ahead, together, they were ready to face it. Now it's your turn to say goodbye. If you've enjoyed this story and want more adventures that will keep you on the edge of your seat, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support for our journey together. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jasper's harrowing tale. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to dive into this chilling conclusion. Your support keeps the stories alive. Let us keep this community growing.